Hi everybody, this is Merly Ann from Merly Ann's Kitchen, and today we are going to make a batch of buns. We're going to do 2 dozen, and it is my 65th birthday, so I am here to celebrate my birthday and create a special video for everyone so that you can enjoy buns on your birthday, whether it's 65 or 25, you choose. So I have all my ingredients here. We have water, oil, eggs, salt, sugar, and of course yeast. And I use fast rising yeast rather than having, if you don't, you've got to mix this in warm water with sugar, and it takes about 8 to 10 minutes for it to come to a foam. Fast rising is just so much easier. Now I also have with me today my handy dandy temperature. So the tools, this is for measuring the water, and I did it a few minutes ago for taking the temp. And we are right on. I like it at about 110, and it is 109, 108, which is perfect. My favorite tools for mixing are, of course, your whisk. And then I used to use a round spoon, but in the last little while I found this type of a spoon I like better. It gets around the edges of the bowl, just a little nicer for mixing. So I've actually switched to this style of a spoon instead of my rounded wooden spoon. So we are going to start, and of course we have flour, and today I use white and whole wheat. I like to start with whole wheat because it's a little harder to mix in the whole wheat than it is just the plain white. And so I always finish with white but start with whole wheat when I'm doing my mixing. So first off, I've got my 2 eggs measured, and I'm going to whisk those first. Just easier to whisk them. My 1/2 cup of oil. Give that a little stir, and my 1/4 cup of sugar to it. Yes, I'm just double checking my recipe. Between bread and buns, the sugars are different. I want to make sure I didn't mess it up. Now, the 2 cups of warm, quite warm water, like I say. It's warmer than lukewarm, just that the yeast reacts faster when you've got a nice warm water, and your bowl is always a little cold. I typically keep my kitchen a little bit on the cold side, so everything is cooler, therefore the water can be a little bit warmer. Next, we're going to start with some flour. I have a 1/2 cup measurer with me today, and I'm going to add 1 cup of whole wheat, and I have 1½ tablespoons of fast rising yeast. Just give that a sprinkle. And I'm going to mix this in quite well before we add the salt. Now, some recipes will tell you add the yeast and salt at the same time, but I know from experience that sometimes salt can kill your yeast. So if you add them together, and it has happened to me, this is a true story, it's not a fallacy. It can kill your yeast and nothing rises. So I'm going to add another cup of the whole wheat. And now I'm going to take my 1½ teaspoons of salt and sprinkle that on there. And if you hear some extra noises, it is my birthday, so I do have a little bit of company. My grandson is here, and my other daughter, as well as the father of the baby. So, 2 daughters, son-in-law, baby, and 3 dogs. But those dogs, 2 are in crates. They're just too much noise. So, I don't like to get my whisk too thick because then I'm losing all of my good mixture. So once I've done about 2 cups, I take that away, and I'm going to toss that in my sink. Now I'm switching to the wooden spoon. At this point, you can add flour. Actually, I'm just going to finish dumping the rest of that whole wheat. And I'm hoping I can manage to mix all this. I did hurt my shoulder, and sometimes mixing on my island is too high for me, but we're going to try and get this done today. So you're just mixing it around, and I have a fairly new Tupperware bowl, nice plastic. So you'll see like the flour doesn't stick to it, and it's just because the sides are still quite slippery. If you get an older bowl, it'll stick more because it just seeps into it. So we're going to do a cup here. And you're going to use approximately 6 to 7 cups. I measured 4 cups of each. I don't mind if my buns have more whole wheat. They often end up being a 60-40 split versus a 50-50, and I'm just fine with that. But if you're one of those people that doesn't care for whole wheat, stick to your white flour. Now you can see this is coming together. I'm going to only add, and with buns, you want them on the stickier side. You don't want to get too much flour, because if you get too much flour, they're going to get tough. Bread, you can use more flour, because you want it a little bit more on the firm side. But for buns, you definitely want them on the soft side, so make sure they're a little wee bit sticky. And I'm going to have to dump this on my granite counter here pretty quick, because it's coming away from the sides nicely. And to finish it, I am going to have to use my hands. So, I'm just going to move this out of the way. And I'm going to sprinkle some flour on the surface here. And just like that. And to clean my spoon, I typically put a little bit of flour with it. I do not like to waste my precious dough. Okay, now I'm going to take a little piece that's a little bit on the sticky side. So I want to clean this bowl out as best I can. When I was young, I would wash this like a silly girl. Now that I'm old, it's like, why would I wash this? I can clean it. Dough's just going right back in here. So get as much flour out of there as you can. And then we're just going to start mixing the rest of the flour in and kneading it. I like to knead on the 90 degrees. Start at the top, turn it 90, push again and again, and work this flour into the dough. And I like to get my hands clean, because then I can tell just how sticky the dough actually is. And I can tell, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to need much more flour in this. And my little buddy Benny there, he's barking. He wants out of his crate because people are going for a walk outside. One of his favorite things. He can go chase birds and squirrels, try and climb a tree. And right now he's in the crate, so he's like, let me out, let me out. Okay, so we definitely have enough flour. So I'm just going to knead it a little bit. And if it starts to get sticky, which you can see it is a little wee bit, take just the little weeest bit of flour, like not much. Because it doesn't take much to go from just enough to too much. Because you want this to have a nice, soft, really smooth texture when you're done with it. And that does take practice, but that's why you're going to watch this video several times, because the more you watch it, the better you get. Trust me, I'm on about 40 years of buns times 4 dozen a week. What's that? 1,600? And that's just 1 year, I think. 52 weeks times 4. Anybody got good math on them? It's a lot of darn buns. Rome wasn't built in a day, nor was your first set of buns. So I can feel that this is pretty much where I want it at. It's soft. It's a little bit tacky, which is what I want. And then I'm going to take I have a little dispenser for oil that I really like. I'm going to oil the inside, oil the top. And then I just take my hand and I rub inside this bowl. And the reason you're oiling it is that you want your dough to rise. If it's sticking to the sides of the bowl, it's not going to be able to rise. And that's the whole point of yeast. And your buns is getting it to rise. So now I place this in here, flatten it out, and then I flip it over. So I want all of the dough to have a little bit of oil on it. And I use pure canola oil. I come from the prairies. We have lots of canola, so why not use canola oil? I'm going to place the lid on it, and this is going to pop open from the air of the yeast. And we're going to place it in my main oven under the proofing setting. And just adjust this. Slide it in. And we turn the oven on. We hit bake, 85 degrees. Set point, and then it says proofing. So we're going to set this now, the timer, 15 minutes, and then we are going to punch, and we're going to do that 3 times. So we will show you, we'll be back in 15 minutes, and we'll show you how to punch the dough down, and peace out and see you later. Okay, folks. We have our first 15 minutes of proofing done. And I'm going to set my timer now. I know I need another 15, and this is going to take me 1 to 2 minutes. So I'm going to set today 17 minutes. Then when my hands are all greasy, I don't have to redo it. And something else I like to do, just because I do not enjoy cleaning my granite every time I do something. And it can make marks, there might be grease on it, so now I just use a tea towel, and then I don't have to clean it every time. So there's the bread. It wouldn't be double yet, or the buns, dough, whatever you want to call. And I always grease my hands. And just put it on like you would lotion all over your hands. And then you're going to turn your bowl. You can kind of even hear that. Sometimes the air squeaking, but what you're doing by punching is getting that air out of the dough. And you can see these little bubbles. We're trying to squeeze as many of them out as we can, because otherwise you're gonna have air bubbles inside your dough when it comes time in your breads or buns. So you want to just do that. Like I say, probably doesn't take me much more than a minute. And you'll hear a little pitter pitter patter. The dogs came in from their walk. So now they're probably going to want to talk to me. Yeah, there goes the talking dog, thinking she needs a treat because she came back in. So that's what your dough, you see it's smaller again. And I pushed it over, making sure everything is greased. And so you just go like, that was the back side. I like the nice smooth side on top. This still has lots of oil. I don't need to do anything with it. Before I pop that back in the oven, I want to mention, because you never know exactly how much flour you're going to need. So I had measured approximately 4 cups of each. And these are half cups, so that's a cup. There's another 1.5 cups now. And basically that's about a 1/2 cup. So I had 2 cups left over, and your flour will vary. That's why you need to use it with your hands and be careful. You can't just keep mixing it, because you'll get it so dense and so thick, it's just going to be dry. You need to learn to touch. You want it a little bit tacky, a little bit sticky, but once you've added about that 5 cups, when you follow with the recipe, you're going to have to be careful and add a little bit at a time, and it is just testing and trying it out. So we're going to pop this back in the oven, and look at that. 15 minutes, what I tell you, 1 to 2 minutes. I am so darn accurate. So into the oven, 15 minutes. Now we're going to do this 2 more times, because we punch 3 times in total. On the 3rd time after we punch, we're going to start forming the buns. So we will see you back here before too long. Okay, we're back. We are on the second punch now. So I thought I would share with you. I've set my timer once again. I put it on 16. I don't have to show you as much stuff. So we punch 1, 2, 3. Just in case you're French. I know that much French. And le ciel est clair, but it's not today. It's cloudy. It's not clear. So you can see the dough was a little bit bigger this time again. Because every time it rises, it's going to increase in size. And once again, just go around your bowl, punch it. Get as many of the air bubbles out as you can. And it's really good for your arms. Makes you strong, strong like ox. Okay. I'm a little short for this bowl, but anyway. It's a good bowl. It's just the sides are higher. I have another one with lower sides. It's easier for me, but I'm on my tippy toes, so I'm much taller now than I was. And being 65, you shrink. I just got taller. Okay, now you see that side looks like that. It's got the marks. Flipped it over. Nice smooth top. Still oily on top. Back into the other 15 minutes, and then we are going to start making buns after the third punch. So next video, we're going to punch and start making buns. Okay, we are back. So this is the third time that the dough has been in the oven, rising under the proofing session. So I'll just show you that. So now I'm going to punch it. And after we're done punching it, I'm going to weigh it, because this recipe makes approximately 2 dozen buns. And you'll watch if you can see, like, I spin my bowl. Like when I was showing you before, it's because I do it like this, but when I'm by myself and not taking a video, I just spin my bowl around and punch every time it makes a spin. And it gets the air out of it real fast. Okay, so that is good enough for me. So I'm going to turn, said I keep a kitchen scale. I never used to, but I do now. And because I would like to make 2 dozen buns today, I'm going to weigh this. And it's 1545. So let's say 1550. Who's fast? 750 is 1500. So I need 775 basically each. So I'm just gonna cut this approximately in half. And it doesn't matter if it's not exact, but so that's $6.95. 8.50. Okay. I think I said I wanted around 7.75. There's 7.82. Close enough. 7.82. 7.63. Little tiny dab. 7.69. 7.74. There, I said 7.75. So we're going to put this one back in the container for a few minutes. I'm going to get rid of this. And I have my pans prepared, and I'm going to use parchment paper. When the pans are new, you can use them. They're non-stick, but as they get marked, I find it's just difficult. They stick, and it's just annoying. See, if you don't have parchment, give them a light greasing again with some canola, and then, yeah, instead of using parchment. But I use parchment all the time. It's my go-to. Doesn't matter basically what it is. I use parchment paper. So I'm just going to grease my knife a little bit. So I'm going to cut these. So I know I want to make about 12 buns out of this. So again, if I was smart, I would have had this calculated. 8, so I need 775 divided by 12. I think I have a calculator right over here if I can find it. Who's quick on a calculator?
Never even thought of having this for you. Should be able to find it. Here we go. Calculator. Oh, don't tell me you want me to pay for this, because I'm not paying for a calculator on my iPad. Do you have your phone handy, Carrie? Calculator, conversion, that won't work.
240.
I even did it math. 6 times 6 is 36. That would be 50. I'm going to go with 70 times 6 is 420. Then be close.
So, and for the first, we're just going to make it, so you're going to cut off a piece of dough. And I just simply fold it in my hands like this. So you want a nice round top on it. You flip it over, take all the insides, squeeze them together. That's the back side of the bun. But if you don't put these together in a seam, then they're not going to stay together. So I'm going to place that on my pan about like that. And we're going to weigh these after just to see. I'm just going by the size of the dough. And before I had a scale, I never ever measured buns and they all came out looking the same and it's just fine. So again, squeeze it a little bit. Make sure the bottoms are tucked in together. And I've seen people, they do the rolling thing like this between their hands. And if you want to learn how to do that, you can, but I don't. I've learned to do it like this and it works just fine. Squash them a little bit. You want space between your buns. You don't want them touching because they have to grow. And if you don't leave room, well, they're just going to get really big and high and they're not going to spread out. And every time I grease my hands, I touch the tops of the buns so that they can just keeps them soft and moist. They don't dry out on the tops while we're doing this. Now this piece I can tell is just a little bit smaller, so I just simply grab a little chunk of dough, stick it in, squeeze it, and you can probably tell when I place this one down. I know for a fact this one is smaller. It's probably hardly 60 grams. So out of curiosity, this is the biggest. We have 3 different sizes here. And I'll turn my scale on. I'm going to say it's about 80. 83, pretty close. This one is probably about 75. 72. And this is like 60. This one's really tiny. 66. And I'm not going to worry about them because we're going to show you after they're done baking that they all kind of came out uniform anyway. But because I would like them around that 65, there's 64 grams, that is just fine for me. And like I say, I just roll them around my hand, make sure the seam is done at the back of them, place it on, push it down, a little bit of grease. This pan actually will hold 15 buns quite nicely. That was 67 grams. So depending, if you want bigger buns, like if you're making homemade burgers, sometimes you want a bigger bun. I'll sometimes make them 85, but it's a pretty big bun. And then it's a pretty big hamburger that goes inside of it. And so I just find a lot of people don't want to eat that much. So this is about 70, this one, because it was 64 and I grabbed a little piece to put on with it. And I'm probably going to put 15 on this pan just because I like the way 15 buns rise together versus 12. Because otherwise the end bun is going to be quite crusty. And this is 65. Little chunk with it. And if I think about it, 7 times 12 is 84. If I hadn't had to think on the spot, I would have known that 70 grams for a dozen buns is what I need. 67. And the more you do, the easier it is. And trust me, it does not matter if they all aren't the same size because not everybody wants a big bun or a small bun, so they can all pick and choose how much bun they want to eat. Hands are getting a little bit dry, so again, I'm just going to simply tap the tops. And you can see there's probably about an inch between them. 59, 68, perfect. And I'm not sure where you are, but the sun is going down. It is winter time, but the days are getting longer. Yay! Winter is leaving soon. Yeah, 2 months away. 61, 66. And it takes a little bit of practice to know how far apart to put them. Sometimes I get them too far, so then I have to readjust each one. And that's 72. So I was pretty close. I have 11 buns on there. Now, if I'd weighed each one exactly, then we would have gotten it right. And you can see this dough is risen already a little bit. So I'm just gonna punch out the air in it. And if it's sticking at all on your countertop, just throw a little bit of oil on it. $64, that'll work. I guess I go really fast. So when I grab the piece of dough, I always stretch it a little wee bit and make it soft and just work around each edge, tucking underneath, I guess you would say, because underneath there are the edges, and you're going to squeeze them all together. And then just flatten the top just a little wee bit. So we'll go slower on this one. Cut another piece. 68, so that's going to work, and I'm going to grease my hands again. So I just squeeze it to get the air out. Squeeze it, and then, like I say, kind of make a ball and get all those centers together. Octopus, maybe? Does that look like an octopus to you? And then just tuck those all. Make sure you squeeze them. You want them, and we'll flip the buns over if remember afterwards, just to show you what I mean by making sure they, because this is all going to go together as it rises. Put that one there. That's a little big, it's 67 there. So again, squeeze it. Just get the air out of it is the biggest thing. And if you've punched it really well, there shouldn't be much air at this point. You should have gotten most of it out. And then place it here. So again, you can see it looks like that. And I just, basically, I'm going to bring everything to the back side so that I can have a nice smooth front. Because you want the top of your bun to be as smooth as possible. And by squeezing a little wee bit, it pops the smoothness to the top of it. This is underneath it. And like I say, if you don't think it's round enough, do some of these squiggly wiggly things. Trust me, when they rise, I've had people help me and they are all different sizes. I'm like, oh my God, they're never going to be equal. But magically, they just keep rising and they all form together and they're going to be beautiful when we pull them out. So like I say, I've put 15 on this tray. My next step to keep the tops nice and moist is I like a nice cotton, very well washed cotton tea towel. These are getting older, so they're perfect. And then I take a plastic bag, I slice it apart, and I simply cover this. And they need to rise at a total of about 30 minutes. I know that my oven to get to 335 takes about 10, 11 minutes. So I'm gonna let these rise. I'm gonna set my timer for 20 minutes. I'm gonna pull them out of the oven and turn my oven on to 335. We'll take a picture. I'm gonna take a picture, a still picture, and Carrie can actually probably grab one. So they look like this, and we will show you what they look like before we put them in the oven, because they're going to double in size and they're going to be touching and rise up a little bit. And there, folks, is your first batch of buns. And we'll be back to eat them very shortly. Whoops. Okay, folks, we are at baking time. It is the reveal time. Oh, what happened underneath here? So I'm going to remove the plastic, and it's quite often a little damp. It absorbs the moisture, so I'll wipe that off. And dun, 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 look at how nice those look now. Now this was definitely the big end. I can tell that for sure. And so these are going to rise a little wee bit more in the oven. But not a lot, so you kind of want them the size you do want before you put them in the oven. So this is about a 30-minute rise. It might have been a little bit longer. It's my birthday. I'm 65, getting old. Memory's not as sharp as it used to be. Forgot to set the timer. Folks, set the timer. That's all I can say. My life is full of timers. And see this little bubble? That's a little tiny air bubble that I didn't get out of my bun. fault. I wouldn't pass a baking contest with that bun. So we are going to put these in, and I'm just going to cook the one batch. 335 is a convection, so I bake buns at 335. And I am going to turn these 180 degrees. So I'm setting my timer with buns 14 minutes. That time I set the timer. And I'm going to do a 180 degree turn. And then I'm going to bake them about another 4 to 5 minutes, depending what they look like. Because in my oven, I know 18 to 20 minutes is all I need for a batch of buns. See you shortly, and we'll be testing the bun. Okay. There we go. Those are looking beautiful. They hardly even need to be turned. They're baking so evenly, but you notice, see, it's a little bit browner here than at the back. And I have watched America's Test Kitchen, and they say always turn your baking. So 3 more minutes is all those puppies need. Timer 3, done. And we will be eating soon. Okay, folks, the buns are done. And they could have probably been out a minute sooner, but I got busy and wasn't able to. So I set them on the rack here. And we're gonna, with buns as a rule, you don't need to let them sit in the pan, and I don't think you should, because the moisture from the bottom is going to come up and it's going to get damp, soggy bottoms. And you know, you've heard of the soggy bottom, boys. You don't want soggy bottom buns. So hang on to your parchment if you can, and if not, just pull it out afterwards. So those are gonna sit like that. Now, you might think I should start pulling them apart, but don't. Just let them sit for at least 20 minutes. Even to eat one, give it 15 or 20 minutes before you put butter inside it. Just, otherwise the butter just soaks in. It's not good. Trust me, you want to let your bun sit 15, 20 minutes. Now this evening, we're going to eat maybe a 6-pack, maybe a 4-pack. So in about 20 minutes, I'm going to pull these apart. But the other 9 are going to go in the deep freeze, but not until they are completely cool. Because once again, if you stick it inside your lovely little plastic bag and they're hot, this is all going to fill up with moisture. And when you take it out again, soggy bottom bun. And the whole thing is soggy, and it's really, really gross. So never speed up the time to put in the deep freeze. Let them cool as naturally as you can. And I know, and the sooner you can get them in the deep freeze, though, the fresher they will be. Don't let your baking sit out. Do not. The sooner, once it is cool, get it in the deep freeze. And then when you bring them out, they will taste just like they were fresh baked the same day. Peace out. Okay, people, look at this. The buns are done. This is the second batch. These came out a little bit sooner, and they're not quite as dark, which I prefer. There were people talking in my kitchen, if you can imagine, when we were doing the video. So these cooked a little too long. Now, as I would mention before, you don't want to pull them apart too soon. Now they're not all steamy. And look how soft those look. We're going to gently pull them apart. You can tear them apart, really doesn't matter. And I have a nice little bowl here. We're having a wonderful 65th birthday steak supper. Oh, and we're having double baked potatoes. Oh my God, they're so good. It's my favorite. I'm not a potato lover, but I love double baked. So that's the way those buns, they'll go on the table and look wonderful. I have a lovely little bread tomato knife that I just absolutely love, and we are going to cut into one of these. And before we do this, though, I want to tell you, some people do an egg wash or a butter wash on top of their buns when they come out. I don't. You know why? First off, I am not going to waste an egg just to brush them and make them look glossy, because it doesn't make them taste any better. All you're doing is making them look glossy, and who needs raw? I don't really need raw egg on the top. You know, you think about the diseases, what's that called when you get sick? Yeah, raw egg has stuff in it. Don't do it. And I don't want to waste an egg. I'm on a budget. And you can also put a ton of butter on them, but I freeze my buns. We're going to maybe eat 3 or 4. So then all that butter you just melted on top is just going to freeze in gobs. So when you take it out of the deep freeze, you just got gobs of butter. Not that nice. So anyway, that's just another tip of mine. So now we are going to cut into the bun. Gently, don't cut your hand, Merlianne. And we're gonna break this open. And look at that. So soft. So good. And that's without the butter. Once you get the butter on, it's even that much better. And this is the perfect temp. And I would say that was about 20 minutes of waiting. If I was to spread butter on here, it would just nicely sit and just would make you indulge in that. So, thank you so much for watching my video. And if you could, let me know where you are watching from. I have no idea where you are. I know I am in bitter cold Saskatchewan tonight, January 10th, and as a rule, there is a snowstorm, and we are expecting minus 36 tonight without the wind chill. Can you imagine minus 36? Because I don't know where you are. Anyway, let me know if you're in sunny Hawaii or Mexico or India. You let me know. Have a wonderful evening and peace out. Martha Stewart always says wine.